right. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Antler and Featherco podcast, the podcast for new and adult onset hunters. My name's Vince, and this is a podcast where I, an inexperienced hunter, bring on hunters from throughout the hunting community who do know a thing or two about hunting. And as I ask them questions and learn new things, I just want to pass them right along to you guys. So before we get going too far into the show, I want to take a moment to just let you guys hit that subscribe or follow button. Go ahead, go do it right now. I'll wait on you. All right, and then when we're done with the show, if you would, go rate and review. That's going to help me get this show in front of more people. And the more people we get it in front of, the bigger and bigger guests we can get. And that's ultimately going to make you a more deadly hunter in the woods. So let's dive in. Today, our guest can be found slinging arrows downrange. And when he's not hanging in a tree hunting, he's slinging fastballs from a pitcher's mound. He played college ball for Tulane University and Mississippi State and was drafted by the Houston Astros in 2018. And guys, just yesterday, he was put on the 40-man roster for the major league team, the Houston Astros. You can find him on Instagram at TheFrenchman28. So please help me welcome to the show, JP France. JP, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Vince? How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Congratulations on getting added to the roster. I mean, that's a big step in your career and what you're trying to achieve. And it's not every day that you get to talk to people in your position. I have a question that I'm sure everybody's wondering, and this is off topic from hunting. Your name is France. Your Instagram is The Frenchman. Are you French at all? Because if not, you got a serious false advertising claim going on.
I like to think myself as more of a mutt.
Yeah,
I think I am French a little bit at least. I know I'm for sure Irish and all that, but I mean, with the last name France, how can you not ride with it, even if you're not French?
Right. And it's such a small world, guys. I was talking to JP, obviously leading up to the show, and I live in Davenport, Iowa. And when he was drafted by the Astros, he played for our single A team here in Davenport, the Quad City River Bandits. And it's just such a small world that you played for my hometown team years ago. And then here we are talking, and it's awesome. You're real close to getting your call up. So I understand, I was watching your Instagram. You just killed your first bow buck.
I did. Yeah. It was actually, thank you, man. It was actually a crazy day. I was the 40-man deadline was yesterday also. In the bow shop that I work at, they have some acres in the back that they're allowing us to hunt. So it's starting to finally get chilly here in North Carolina. So I decided that they gave me permission to go out there and hunt. So I said, why not? I'll go hop in a stand. And I mean, when I say it was the worst possible start to a hunt you can imagine, it was bad. So I knew where their stand, they had one stand set up. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to hunt out of that stand. I'm going to hunt out of the saddle that I have. So I picked a tree. It was a fairly small oak. And when I got up there, so I got four sticks. So I've started finally climbing up. When I finally get the platform up and everything, I noticed as soon as I stand up, I have about a 4-inch diameter branch right in front of my face. So I was like, this is not good. So I'm like, all right, let me climb down. I get all the way down, take all my sticks off. And then I look in my hand and I have 3 sticks. And I look up in the tree and I left the top stick. So I was like, here we go, man. Let's just add on to it. So then I walked to a small pine tree a little closer, realized, I'm not going to get a shot. So I got to walk another 15 yards. My stand's hanging off my saddle. I'm clanking all over the place trying to get it. And by the time I get up, I'm sweaty and I'm like, I'm wasting my freaking time. But to shorten it up, I ended up shooting that little buck. And then as my buddies are helping me track him and everything, we get him back to the truck. I get a text from somebody saying, hey, if you give me a chance, give me a call. And then gave her a call. And then they told me I was actually under the 40-man. So, I mean, within 30 minutes, I mean, I was on I was on the moon.
Yeah, I bet, man. That's two really big. I mean, obviously from a career standpoint, that's bigger, but from a hunting standpoint, your first bow buck is just huge. So to have both of those things happen right then at the same time, I can't imagine, like, you had to have been shaking all night long. Like, it never stopped.
Yeah. And I was telling somebody, and I was oddly calm after I shot that deer. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just like a monkey finally got lifted off my shoulders and I finally got something with some antlers with a bow. But no, I mean, it was a little poke. It was a 40-yard shot.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was a little poke. But yeah, for some reason I was just oddly calm. He was in front of me for a couple minutes, so it did give me time to like settle down, get my nerves right and everything before I made the shot. But the whole time I was watching him run, blood gushing everywhere, so I knew I was good. But the whole time I was watching him run off, I was just relaxed.
That's nuts. Well, I mean, you're kind of used to, I mean, even in the minor leagues, you're used to playing in front of people. You're used to high pressure situations, especially as a pitcher. I mean, in baseball, depending on the position you play, you may only have, a handful of opportunities, if that, to really mess the game up. But when you're on the mound, like, that's you every pitch. So, I mean, I'm sure that plays into you being able to kind of calm yourself in a real crazy situation.
Yeah, but you kind of, it is, but it's not. It's that adrenaline dump deer hunting is just completely different. When a deer walks out and I see him and I have time, I know he's calm, I know he's not going anywhere. That's when I can kind of get into that basically same mindset, go back, like even when I pitch, go back to that breathing, relax myself. Because when pitching, if you get in a high stress situation, you can step off and kind of relax and gain yourself. But in deer hunt, like anybody knows, you might not have that opportunity to calm yourself down. It could be here, hey, I gotta go.
Right.
So that's for me, that's kind of where I feel it differs a little bit. But I mean, if you're in one of those high pressure situations in baseball, and hey, I can't keep stepping off. I gotta pitch eventually.
Yeah.
So
the crowd's gonna let you know you can't.
No doubt.
Well, that's awesome, man. Congrats on both of those things. Those are, like I said, just huge accomplishments. And to have them happen right at the same time, especially like you said, the way that it started out, like the night was not looking good and it flipped over and was probably one of the better nights of your life.
Right.
So.
And we'll dive into more of this, the whole shooting and everything, but that's another thing, how it can tie into baseball. I mean, if you're a starting pitcher and that first inning sucks, if you know, hey, I can't do anything right here, if you finally get out of that first inning, the next inning's a reset. It's just, you got to let it play out. Same thing like when I was in that stand. The first 30 minutes that I was in the woods was just as bad as it could get. But then once everything cooled down, I was relaxed again, just swinging in the saddle, just nice, calm, just looking around. That's when everything kind of changed.
Well, awesome, man. Well, hey, before we get into some of the questions I have for you, I'm going to say a quick prayer and then we'll hop right in. All right?
Yes, sir.
Lord Jesus, I thank you for today. I thank you for what you did for me on the cross. I thank you that you put on flesh and you came down and you paid the price that I could never pay. You died the death that I deserve. And because of that, I just want to, first and foremost of this podcast, I want to use it as a way to glorify you, use it as a way to get you out in front of more people. So I also thank you for JP. I thank you that he would give up, especially in such an exciting time in his life with the news yesterday, the fact that he'd give up an hour of his time to come talk to me. I just appreciate that of him. And I thank you for him. I thank you that, these great things are happening with his career and in his life. And I just ask that you're over the rest of this conversation. I know you are. Again, I thank you for the work you've been doing in my brother's life, as he's getting better and better and better. And ultimately, again, I just want to glorify you, love you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So let's get into some of these questions, man. So give a quick background of your hunting career or your hunting life. I assume baseball's always been a really big part of your life. So how did you find the time to really focus on your baseball and, when you were younger, baseball, school, and still have a time-consuming hobby like hunting?
So, yeah, I've been playing ball since I was probably 4 or 5 years old, starting with T-ball, however young that is. I want to say it's 4 or 5. But I've really, when I was probably 10 to maybe 17, 18 years old, being from Louisiana, me and my dad, all we did was duck hunt. That's what we did. That was the hunting that I knew, because duck hunting back then, it was so good. You can go anywhere and shoot your limited ducks and no problem. And then I would make the occasional deer hunt. My buddy's dad had some property up in North Louisiana. We'd go up, rifle hunt, shot my first deer. I think I might have been 12, 13 years old. But then once college rolled around at Tulane, it was just always baseball, school, baseball, school, just same thing over and over again. And since I wasn't duck hunting as much, because the duck hunting, it's been rough. Let me just put a nice word on it. It's been really rough duck hunting. So I wanted to find something else that I could do to get hunting without having to, because when duck hunting, it's really time consuming, especially being in college. And it's not like I can just go anywhere in the city of New Orleans and go shoot a shotgun to practice.
Right.
So I want to say it was 2016. I picked up my first bow. It was a PSE Stinger X. Man, I remember how that bow shot. It wasn't great. But
one of those real loud rubber band sounding bows.
Yeah, and I mean, I had no idea what I was doing with it. I was shooting 20 yards, and that thing was corkscrewing all over the place. Come to find out, I was hitting the bottom of the rest of my arrow. I didn't know what was going on. But it was just something for me to go outside of our apartment that I was renting at the time, and I could just shoot at a target down a driveway to get my mind off of school, off of hunting. If I ever needed a break, I could just go right outside and shoot a little bit just to kind of relax. And that's kind of where it took off from there. 2 years later, went to Mississippi State, still had my bow, but being in Starkville, I never had the chance to hunt out there, mainly just because baseball took up all my time. We had workouts in the morning, we'd have practice in the evening, and then once that was done, season started, and there was no real time to do anything. But a lot more people hunted then, a lot more people bow hunted back then. So I had some people that I was able to practice with, shoot and everything, now that I was a little more familiar with bows. And then once minor league kicked off, that's when I was able to actually have real off seasons and have real time to myself and get away from that, because now it being a job, anybody who works knows that you need to do something to get away from your 9 to 5 or whatever it is.
Right.
And that's what shooting a bow or bow hunting really is. So the season, spring training's in February to March, season's April to September, if you're lucky, October, November. But for that first month in the off season, I don't touch a ball. I don't think about a ball. I don't work out. I don't do anything. I hunt, because I need a break from that little white ball, at least for a month. Just for me mentally, just to get back to that neutral, because when you work out in the off season, you eat right, you do everything you need to do, and you're kind of building yourself up to once you hit spring training, and then you try to kind of maintain what you've built up to do. but it's also going to drop. You're going to peak, and then it's going to slowly taper off. So the whole time you're doing that, it's draining. It's mentally draining. It's physically draining. So that's what hunting and shooting a bow does. It kind of gets me back to that neutral. So now when I start grinding again, throwing everything, getting back up, now it's less of a climb to get back to that peak.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always one thing I've wondered. I've obviously never played anything professionally. How do you guys, like, you work out all off season? Do you guys still work out during the season? Because it seems like you're playing. I mean, when you play series back to back to back to back, you're playing almost every day. So do you have time to actually work out?
Yeah, we do, and it's less of like a strength workout or a lean out workout, whatever you want to call it. It's more of a maintained workout. So during the season, we're not squatting 350 pounds. We're not deadlifting 500. We're doing more to kind of just maintain and, again, get us through the season. Because you can, and for pitchers, it's different than position players. Position players are going to play every day, maybe one day off a week. Whereas pitchers, if you're a starter, if you're a starting pitcher, you get 1 day a week to play. So you pitch that day, you'll have the next day after where you lift either lower body or total body. And then one of the next 2 days, you have a bullpen. And then when you throw your bullpen, then you'll either work out upper or total body again. And then day off and then pitch and then do it again. So it's those maintaining workouts where you're not trying to get huge, no neck, big chest, all that.
Mark McGuire.
Right. Yeah, you're just trying to maintain to make sure your muscles stay strong enough to take that one start at a time, just one start at a time, and just keep going.
So what initially drew you to archery? I mean, I know you've hunted. Was it just because it was just another way to get out and hunt, like, more? Because gun seasons tend to run, depending where you're at, they're not very long. So what about archery? Like, what made you pick out a bow to begin with?
So, and I'm going to touch on the gun season real quick. It's actually the opposite in Louisiana, where I'm from. Louisiana, bow season's like September 15th to like, I think mid-October or November, and then from November to mid-January is gun season.
Solid the whole time?
It's gun season for like 4 months. So
no kidding. Yeah, in Iowa we have it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no. No, it's like 4 or 5 months. But the whole time people rifle hunt, you can bow hunt.
Yeah.
But like the lease I was on, it's just super hard hunting because you're basically bow hunting a rifle lease, and good luck.
Right.
But I think what mainly drew me to archery was the one, for me, shooting a deer with a rifle at 300 yards. It just, for me mentally, there's no like accomplishment feeling. That deer never knew you were there 300 yards away. And it's just that's just me. But I think it's more the challenge and the how particular / nitpicky shooting a bow accurately has to be, which is the same thing with pitching. If something's not right by, say, a half inch on your anchor, on your grip, when the nose is to the string, if something small is off there, you're going to be way off downrange. Same thing with pitching. If your timing's not on that split second, you're going to be way off at home.
I think it seems to be a little more cultural. Back to just to touch on the gun hunting. Is that more of a, down in Louisiana, is that more of a just kind of what you guys do down there? I know I talk to a lot of people about rifle season, and I've joked with people about, obviously I'm very pro Second Amendment. I would never say that you couldn't gun hunt or that we should ban it. But, you know, in the bow community, it's kind of like, man, like, just, it's not even, it's what you said. It's kind of like, I'm happy for anybody that kills a deer. But I'm a bow hunter, and I just, like you said, I don't see the sport in shooting something that is 300 yards away, 200 yards away.
Right.
But is that a deep cultural thing where you're from? Like
yes.
just gun hunting is just what you guys do?
Gun hunting and running dogs too. A lot of people run dogs up here in North Carolina too, and I didn't realize they did it up here. Running dogs and rifle hunting. Because I mean, what people do down in Louisiana is they hunt pipelines. So they'll put a box stand on top of like if you do have a hill, if you can find one in Louisiana, they'll put it at the top of that hill, whatever you want to call it, and they can look over both ways, and you can see 600-700 yards away. So that's how people hunt. They feeders and pipelines. But
yeah.
And look, I'm not going to deny anybody any hunting over any kind of feed. That's what I killed my little buck on yesterday. Go for it.
Yeah. That gets to be a heated debate.
No doubt, man.
I say if it's legal where you're at, you do what you do.
Well,
everyone.
I was just going to say, and then going back to what I was saying on the lease I was on, rifle hunting bow hunting a rifle lease, you need to be able to get away from all those rifle hunters. You need to get in the thick stuff. And nothing really dies back home until probably beginning of January. So if you want to get in there with those deer, I was actually talking to my buddy today about it. You need to put something out there to draw those deer off of whatever else they're eating. Because they're not going to go out in the open. They're going to be super skittish because they're rifle hunters. So they're going to stay in that thick stuff and they're going to browse, they're going to bed. And then it being so humid and below sea level in Louisiana, they have everything they need. They got water, they got food, they're going to find water wherever they go. So they probably really only have to go 30, 40, 50 yards to get everything they need.
So you said you're a saddle hunter then?
Yeah, this is my second year. I freaking love it. I trust it way more than some lock-ons, just because for some reason in the back of my head, some of these lock-ons, I know it's just held by a cable, and it's a mental block for me. It's going to trap door on me. Whereas with that saddle, I know I'm bridged up to the carabiner, to the tether, to the tree, and I always got steady tension on it. And that for me, it's so much more comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've saddle hunted for probably 2 years too. And I mean, it's no going back after that for me. And like same reasons you said. And I just feel like it affords you so many more shot opportunities, so many more like concealment opportunities. But yeah, I was going to say, have you ever heard of Buzzard Roost saddles? I
have not. I saw you posted something about him, and I saw they were out of Louisiana.
Yeah. He's Benny's a real good guy. I've really come to like him. And so, yeah, if you get into the market for a new saddle, check them out. They're awesome. They're super comfortable. It's a 2-panel saddle, which I was coming from Tethered Phantom, which is just a basic 1-panel saddle. And I couldn't believe when I thought it was comfortable. I thought the Tethered was comfortable. And then when I got in his saddle, it was like a whole different world. Like it was nuts.
Yeah. So, I currently work with Cruiser. And they're kind of the same thing. Oh man, it's so comfortable. It's almost got like an expansion pouch in the middle of it, to where when you're walking around or if you're just hanging out, it's probably a foot wide from belt to the bottom of your butt. And then if you decide you do want to kind of bend your knees and sit down, quote, you can pull it down a little farther in that expansion pack. It extends it probably another 4 or 5 inches. And it'll kind of go low mid thigh. And then it's almost like you're sitting in a hammock. Right.
Yeah. They're definitely Cruisers. I've heard nothing but great things about them. And, like I said, you get in that argument a lot with people who've never tried a saddle, and they have all their funny names for it, but it's like, man, if you would just give it a try, like, I had to hunt. I was hunting with a buddy on his land probably 2-3 weeks ago, and he already had preset stands and stuff. So I was sitting in I think it was just an old lone wolf, and it's just that little fold down metal seat. And my God, it was terrible. And I was sitting there trying to sit there all day for a rut sit. And I'm like, this little metal thing is just like, I ended up standing up and just using it like a saddle platform. I flipped that seat up because I had my saddle on me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so there's no going back for me on that.
The bow shop I worked at back home, and I'm going to go ahead and say, Sammy, Corey, if y'all listen to this is y'all. The two guys, Sammy,
go ahead and
Corey,
shout it out if you want to.
Yeah, Sammy and Corey, they would give me all kind of junk about hunting out of a saddle. They'd make a bunch of memes. They'd send them to me, saddle hunters, all this, blah 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 blah. Well, I had an extra trophy line saddle, and I said, dude, you got to try it out. I said, I know you don't want to, but go ahead, try it out. So we climbed a telephone pole. I just went up one stick and I kind of showed him how to use it and everything. And as soon as he had to trust it a little bit, but as soon as he leaned back, he was like, oh my goodness. I said, I told you it's comfortable. So now I gave him that trophy line saddle, and he's hunting with it now.
Yeah. I feel like with saddles, my experience with it anyway, is it's like until you've killed a deer out of a saddle, it feels like you don't want to talk too much about, because you can't feel like you're talking from a place of authority with these guys. Like, I've killed big bucks out of stands my whole life, blah, blah, blah. But then once you get that first deer under your belt, you're kind of like, you feel good about it. Now you're ready to battle.
Right.
Tell them what's up with saddle hunting. And
I was just going to say the only thing really with saddle hunting that I can see people who haven't used it is that when you see all the ropes and the tethers and all that and the bridges, it's at first glance, it's definitely an intimidating thing to look at.
Yeah.
Because everything looks like, oh, this could get tangled up. This could get tangled up. But once you actually like see how it works and everything, it's super, super simple.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot more, like you said, just the way you set up. I won't say that it's necessarily faster setup wise than if you just got a light hang and hunt mobile stand, because up the tree, it's the same situation. You know, you're climbing up your sticks. When you've got a small light mobile stand where you just pop it on there and, lock it on, you're kind of good to go. So I feel like that's one of the parts of saddle game where people are like, oh, it's so fast, it's this and that. I'm like, well, not necessarily. It's not. That wouldn't be the hill that I would die on if you're deciding like which side to choose. Cause, I take my time, especially with ropes. Like I look at my carabiner, make sure it's clipped down and screwed down. I make sure all the ropes are right before I set back. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely more steps involved, but I mean, that goes back to kind of some of the stuff that I preach in the off season of like, get in a tree in your saddle a lot over the summer. Like that's not a good thing to try to get used to when you just go out to hunt.
No doubt.
Like, especially if you're brand new to it, you don't want that first 10 minutes. I don't know how your first 10 minutes in a saddle were, but I was shaking like crazy.
You got to learn to trust it.
Yeah. Back. Yeah. Yeah. But that's one thing I do like about it. And I've heard people kind of argue against the idea, but my brain likes the fact that there's constant tension on that rope. Your tether is into your bridge and there's constant tension there. So like when you're just clipped in and you've got that loose hanging strap from your harness on a stand, like I still feel like even if that thing gave out, yeah, you're clipped in, but that's still, a foot, depending on how close you have it tied in, you still got a little bit of a fall.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel much more comfortable. Yeah. I feel much more comfortable. Like I feel connected to the tree at all times versus like I could still take the wrong step and fall out of a stand, even if I'm tethered to the tree. That was going to be my thing, was that being mobile like that is that I haven't really used a mobile stand with a lock on,
but I feel like it's super easy to stay connected to the tree with the lineman's belt with the saddle. Because, I mean, that's my biggest thing, is never coming disconnected from the tree while you're climbing up. And there's nothing really to loosen or tighten either. Once you get that lineman's rope set, there's no, okay, I put one stick on, now I got to move my tether up a little bit, and then I got to strap it back down, then I got to put another stick. No, you're just taking that lineman's rope and you're just climbing up the tree with it.
Right. And that, when I first started hunting, I started out 3 years ago completely on my own. I didn't grow up hunting or anything. I just got an itch a few years ago and started. When I first started out, I didn't realize that a lineman's rope was a thing. And so I was hanging and hunting like these heavy ass hang on stands that they're meant to be permanent stands. And I didn't know any better. And I look back at that now, like my first year of hunting, and I was like, I am so lucky I didn't die, especially when you get into the winter and there's snow on the ground and your feet are slipping all over the place. I was climbing up 4 sticks high, hanging this, 25-pound stand, not connected to the tree at all. But yeah, so luckily I'm still here. Thank God for that. One thing you mentioned earlier that I have zero knowledge about, and I had Benny from Buzzard Roost on here, and he mentioned this when he was on. How do you run dogs for deer? What does that look like? Because we obviously in Iowa we don't do that. That's just not in our heritage. So what does that look like?
So I'm not super familiar with it, but the way I was explained to it, at least how they do it up in North Carolina, is that it's almost like a big group function. They'll have one guy over here, another guy a couple hundred yards here, another guy a couple hundred yards here. And what the dogs will basically do is they'll pick up the I don't know how they decipher buck, doe, whatever, but they'll basically run them back to the truck if they can. They'll kind of bay them down, or I guess that's not the right word, because if you bay them down, they're stuck. But yeah, they kind of run them back towards the truck, and then once because it's all a Garmin dog collars. So they have them GPS, they know where they're running, they know kind of the direction the deer is going to run. So yeah, they work them back to the truck, and I guess they shoot them on the run coming across. I guess that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny, because I've heard people say that running dogs it's not ethical, it's not right, blah, blah, blah. And then people that do it, who grew up doing it, it's like, hey man, that's what we do.
Now, I was talking to a guy yesterday. I'm like, man, so these deer don't have a chance. And he goes, oh no, they do. He said, what these bucks get smart. He said the dogs will be running them, and that buck knows where all the does are. So he'll run through a big herd of does. He'll get the does running. And then once all the does scatter, he'll kind of like lay down and let all the does run, and the dogs will start chasing the does.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's one of those things where people take like a moral high ground and say, it's not right. But then up here during gun season, we do pushes, and essentially you're running a dog, except the dog's a guy. It's your buddy.
Right.
He's the one walking out trying to run. So it's like, it's kind of interesting how you can make that argument. Oh, that's not right. But then you go on a deer push, which
right.
Same. As a bow hunter, I feel like if you take bow hunting seriously, I feel like it's not, I don't want to come across as like you're better than any other hunter, because that's not the case. But it's like you're definitely a different breed when you really get bit by the archery bug, and like all you want to do is hunt with a bow. It definitely makes things like gun hunting, pushing. It gives me personally a weird feeling about it. I don't like it. I feel like hunting is meant to be you in pursuit of an animal. You're going into the woods, you're looking for sign, you're trying to track them down and actually hunt them. And I've just never really liked the idea. Like I said, if it's legal, I support you doing it, but I've never liked the idea of taking the sport or the hunt out of it. And I don't know, I seem to find that common feeling among like really hardcore bow hunters.
Yeah.
One thing I was wondering for you, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I'm kind of the same way, and I'm not gonna get a rant on it because I'll hurt people's feelings. Is crossbows. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my gosh.
That's I'd rather unless you're a young kid that you want to get your kid into bow hunting and he can't pull enough pounds back to kill a deer, or if you're old, crippled, whatever it is that you physically cannot pull a compound back and you want to bow hunt, then go shoot a crossbow. But that's all I'm going to say.
I 100% agree with that. And to take that a step further, tying back to gun hunting, I had a conversation with a buddy the other day. Same exact thing. I am 100% supportive of gun hunting and crossbows for kids and for people who have a disability. I don't understand why anybody needs to shoot a crossbow for any other reason. And even the discussion I was having with my buddy, he was like, I think it should even be the same for guns. And I was like, well, you're going to get some pretty hard pushback on the gun thing. That's not something you want to go down. But yeah, on the crossbow, like I have my brother-in-law, he lives in Arkansas and they can do it and he loves his. And like I said, my thing is if it's legal, do it. I would never tell you not to, but yeah, I agree with that. I think that if you have the capability to pull a bow back, there's no reason. Because, I mean, these crossbows today,
they scare the hell out of me.
They're better than my shotgun is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm like? They shoot 500 feet per second.
Yep, they just had one that was 505.
Yeah. How does that differ from shooting a shotgun? I mean, granted, you can get into a shotgun slug goes much faster than 500 feet per second, but like you're essentially my brother-in-law's, he can put a dot on 100 yards and boom, every time.
Well, my thing is since we're going down this rabbit hole, my thing is
here we go.
It's the way that these people are using these crossbows. They want to say they bow hunt, so they buy a crossbow.
Right.
But these companies are advertising at sub-1 groups at 100 yards. Your next rifle is one that was advertised as that. And when you start advertising that, these people start thinking, oh, it's a rifle, but it's still a bow. Oh, I could shoot a deer at 100 yards with a bow. And at the end of the day, you still have to realize it's still a stick and string. You still ethically, with a crossbow, you might get away with a 60, 70, 80 yard shot because it is going 400, 500 feet a second. But it's still going slower than the speed of sound. There's just so much that can happen. The deer can hear, it could walk, it could do all kind of stuff before that arrow gets there 80 yards away. But I feel like the reason that people want to bow hunt but use a crossbow is because they don't want to put the time, effort, and work in. And some people may not have the time to put in, but they don't want to put the time, effort, and work in to get good with a bow. They want to use it as a tool. Sight it in, put it in a bow case, leave it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with you on that. I just, that's one of the biggest thing that kind of irritates me. And, if you're a crossbow hunter that's listening and I offend you, my apologies. It was great having you on the show, but, it all ties back to, like I was saying earlier about when you're a bow hunter, I feel like aside from hopping out of a tree onto one's back and wrestling it, like that's the most intimate way you can hunt that animal. 'Cause you actually, generally you can have kill plots, you can have food plots and stuff. That's a little bit different, but you have to hunt that animal. You have to get really close. You have to play wind. You have to play thermals. You have to really put a lot of work, and you can put a ton of work into a hunt and one swirl of the wind ruins it. And I feel like that's part of the game. That's the exciting part of it. And when you take a crossbow and you can drop something at 40, 50 yards all the time, I just don't know. I don't see where the hunt is. I don't see where the sport is with it. And
it's one of those things, I'm sure somebody's going to say something, or maybe not, but, oh, since y'all shoot compounds, y'all think y'all are better than the guys who use crossbows. No, well, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. It's just what I personally think of crossbows versus compounds. If you're gonna take that long shot, use a rifle. If you want to get up close and personal, use a vertical bow.
Yeah.
So,
and my only little thing is like, it's really nitpicky and kind of I just don't think if you shoot a crossbow, and this is going to get me in trouble, I don't think you're a bow hunter. I respect your right to hunt with a crossbow. Call yourself a crossbow hunter. Don't call yourself a bow hunter. It's very different. You can come at me with all the different things about it you want, but at the end of the day, there's nothing harder than perfect shot placement with a true bow and arrow. That I think that the title bow hunter it's special. It's very unique. And
I mean, look, but I know it personally. Like I was going back to saying, if you don't have the time, then hey, that's fine. When me and my dad go to Kansas every year, my dad does not bow hunt. All he really does now is just fish. But he wants to go hunting up there because he knows I like to bow hunt, and that's all my buddy's dad allows is bow hunters on his property. So, what's my dad going to shoot? He's going to shoot a crossbow. But mentally, my dad, he says, "Oh man, I just sit here and I just look in the scope, and then boom, that deer never knew I was there. Dropped him." And he goes, "Man, it's not that hard." I said, "You don't understand." My buddy's dad said the same thing. He goes, "Dude, you don't understand. That's not bow hunting. You don't have to move anything." So, I mean, and I know it firsthand. My dad does it.
To that point, though, I mean, that's a really good distinction to make. So if you're a crossbow hunter that I pissed off and you're still here, let's make this distinction. If you don't have the time, because, a lot of us are working class people, we got jobs, families, kids, everything with that. If you know you don't have the time and maybe you only get to hunt a handful of times a year, to me, different scenario. Now, use your crossbow. I would much rather have you use a crossbow and be able to ethically kill a deer than force yourself into a bow that you haven't practiced with and wound a deer.
Exactly.
So in that situation, absolutely, my beef is with the guys that are in the woods 5 days a week, still with a crossbow. You're 33 years old. You have the right to do it. Do it. It just doesn't seem like it's not my jam. But I think we've pissed enough people off on that side of it. So we'll go ahead and for all you guys who are left.
I didn't want to get down that rabbit hole, but there it is.
I just been waiting for the right guest to go down it with, and it was you, buddy. So for all of you guys who are still sticking around, my hardcore bow hunters, we're going to move on. Do you ever, one thing you had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of similarities with shooting a bow and pitching a baseball in terms of, just it's got to be dead on technique. The slightest variance can throw everything off. Do you ever worry, or have you ever worried about pulling back a bowstring? Are you ever worried about injuring yourself? Because I assume if you're a right-handed pitcher, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you would pull back with your right hand.
Yep.
Do you ever, or have you ever injured your shoulder or tweaked your shoulder with a bow, or does that concern you at all?
No, it actually helps my shoulder out because, like anybody knows, pulling a bow back, if you draw a bow back the correct way, you're not really using shoulder. It's
right.
It's more the back of the meat of the shoulder. It's the lat. It's your back. It's all your back that you pull with, and as you push forward with your front hand. But it actually helps me out because it strengthens everything back there for me. So for pitching, all these muscles behind my shoulder, my lat and everything, that's all my decelerator muscles. So right after I let that ball go, that's all the muscles that help slow my arm down. So if those are strong, I'm going to stay healthier longer.
Yeah. I was just wondering that because you look at like, John Dudley, for instance, I think he had to have shoulder surgery, and he said, it's due to pulling a bow back thousands and thousands, with him probably millions of times as a professional archer, all of that use. So I didn't know if that was a concern of yours or not.
No, I mean, actually, if say I pitch on a Saturday and we have Sunday off, I'll go to the bow range and I'll shoot 70, 80, 90, 100 times that day. And that's basically my like arm care / rehab for the week.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good way to do it. Are there any other things that you like shy away from? I mean, when you're younger, we tend to feel like we're invisible, but for a lot of us, if I go out and do something stupid, it could take me off my actual job for a little while, but like, I know that I can always go back to, I work for John Deere. So if I get hurt outside of work, my job's still fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you get hurt, depending on the injury, like that could be the end of your baseball career. Are there certain things that you take lightly or certain activities that you avoid? Or do you just kind of just live life and hope for the best?
I'll meet you in the middle. I mean, because you can't be scared that something's always going to happen, because that's usually when something happens. You're like, you just can't play life scared.
Yeah,
because that's when usually when something happens. When you're relaxed, go with the flow. Hey, if it happens, it happens. That's usually when it doesn't happen.
Right.
I mean, obviously, when I'm climbing a tree, I make sure everything's secure. I'm not in no rush to get up there, because I know, obviously, that does go through my mind. Man, if I fall, like, this isn't going to be good for me. Or if I'm cleaning the deer, I know I gotta take extra caution of cutting around my fingers, because I know if I cut something off my right hand, that's not good.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, it really doesn't. It doesn't really bother me or come across my mind too much, just because there's no reason to really think about it. There's no reason to be scared to live life. Now, there's some things in our contract that we can't do. We can't like snowboard. We can't do certain stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say I can't climb a tree. So.
Yeah. I didn't even think about like just everything related to deer hunting. Cause I mean, I don't understand it. And maybe you can explain it being a pitcher. Like I remember when I was a Cubs fan, I think it was like Kyle Hendricks, he got like a blister on his finger and it like was taking him out of the game. I mean, it gets down to that being that particular.
Oh yeah.
Like even a blister or a small cut.
Yeah. My callus actually finally healed up, but no, yeah. If you have a blister, I had a little blister pop up on me last year, and I had to pop it because if it would rip, I wouldn't be able to pitch until it healed up. So that's probably 2 weeks, just because everything on the tip of that fingers or any of your fingers on your throwing hand is so fine tuned, just because of the way you have to spin the ball or how much really force / RPMs you're putting on that ball. Any little cut could turn into a bigger cut, or a blister could turn into a bigger blister. So yeah, I mean, any
crazy.
of that. I mean, even your knuckleballer guys, like Wakefield and stuff, they'd go get manicures like every week because his nails had to be perfect to be able to throw that knuckleball. If he had a hangnail or something, or a nail was cut, because the ball wouldn't come off like he would want to, and he made a living throwing a knuckleball with no spin. So
man, that is. And that, like, I think about, like, when I was cleaning my dough the other day, like, I cut my one finger twice. I sliced into my thumbnail. I was like, well, I'm out of the game, coach.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned to me that you've kind of made it a little bit of a mission of yourself that you're trying to connect more baseball players who are hunters. Because you had mentioned it's a really overlooked thing in the hunting industry. So what kind of things are you doing do you have is it more just kind of networking among you guys, or do you have anything that you're actually trying to put together to bring that a little more into the light?
I would say it's more of networking, but I am a part of a page called Full Count Full Draw, and I think it was started by Brett, the buddy. I think he's in Illinois or Indiana, one of those two. Something with an I. But yeah, it's Full Count Full Draw. It's just a bunch of, it could be college players, it could be minor league guys, could be pro guys, that we're all just kind of knitted together, trying to be, because obviously you got your bow hunters, that's one basically family group, and then obviously inside of that you have other niches, and baseball bow hunters are a big one. I mean, look at the big show they had on Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, whatever, Major League Bow Hunter, Chipper Jones, all those guys.
Yeah.
But those are also the bigger names everybody knows. They don't realize that there are a ton of bow hunters in minor league ball, in pro ball. And yeah, for me, that's just something that's overlooked, and I'm just trying to get it out there. Because we're not just, I want to let people know, hey, just because you see us on TV or you watch us at minor league games or whatever it is, we're not just robots on a field. We're people. We hunt. We do other things just like y'all do. So that's kind of what that is. It's baseball players. We're people. We're not just pawns on a field that you can bet on and cheer for and all that.
So Chipper, if you're listening, I know you listen every week. I wish. Hey, hit up JP, get him on the team, get him out there. Well, hey man, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for hanging out today. I had a blast talking to you, and I can't wait to see. I've kind of shied away from baseball. I'm a Cubs fan, so the Cubs have made some decisions over the last few years that really angered me. Unfortunately, I've got a whole half sleeve that is all Chicago Cubs. So I've been wearing a lot of long sleeve flannels the last few years, but I'm going to really pay attention to you. No, hell no. God, that's even, it's like you got the Cubs Cardinals rivalry, and that's fun in itself. And then it's like the White Sox fans always want to be rivals. And it's like, they're like that little tag along. It's like, you guys aren't even, no, go away. You just stay on the south side, do whatever you guys are doing over there. Stop trying to be part of this club over here. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to follow your career and see. I feel like I'm going to call it. You're either going to make the 26 man, or you're going to be up there this year. And I can't wait to see that. I hope that, you're able to stay healthy, keep working hard, and ultimately get to that final goal of making it to the majors. I think, that's just awesome. And I hope and pray you do get up there. And I'll be telling everybody, when you do get up there and you're on TV, I'm like, I talked to that guy. They're like, no, you didn't. I'll be like, look back on Spotify. He's there. He's a real dude. It happened. So you're gonna have to send me an autograph ball or something, man.
I got you, man, for sure.
But yeah, good luck with everything. Can't wait to see you get up there, and thanks so much for hanging out. Guys, I want to just take a second to tell you guys about a couple of the friends of the show. Make sure you're checking out Buzzard Roost Saddles. They're the most comfortable and adjustable saddles on the market. They're American made in Louisiana. If you want to get one for yourself, use code AAFP10. That'll get you 10% off. Also, go over, check out our friends at Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge is the most advanced mapping and deer movement prediction app on the market. It's just packed with intel that's going to help you put deer on the ground, period. Go to SpartanForge.ai online. Use code AFCO for 20% off your subscription. Make sure you're following us over on Instagram. We're at Antler Feather Co. We're over on YouTube, Antler and Feather Co. with the and sign, all one word. And we're on Facebook too. When you guys get done with this show, make sure you go over, follow JP. He's at the Frenchman 28. Follow him, follow along his career. I think there's some exciting things coming up. And if you guys found value in this show, if you feel like you learned something new, if you added something to your hunting arsenal, please subscribe, follow, like, share, rate, and review. I appreciate every single one of you guys that listen this week. I really do. I don't take any of you for granted. An hour out of your day is a long time to spend with us, and I just really, really appreciate it. So we're going to catch you guys next week. This is the Antler and Feather Co. podcast. You are listening to the Antler and Feather Co. podcast.